Let's do my May wrap up and talk about all the books I read last month. I brought myself a little book ottoman so I don't have to hold them the whole time I'm talking. I love my stats. I read 6 books, 2,038 pages. I have done a lot more physical reading this year, or immersive reading this year. And honestly, I have enjoyed it so much, making sure I'm allotting time for myself to not just do audiobooks, but physically read. I only did 26.58 hours of audiobooks, which this is a little skewed as I like to do immersive. So a lot of times I do have the audiobook from the library and I am doing it in tandem with the physical book. If I'm driving, I tend to do the audio. If I am home and able to, I tend to do the physical. I mark it depending on which one I did more. So if I find that I did more of the physical reading, then that's what I mark. If I find that I did more of the audio, then that's what I choose to mark. It's not a perfect system, but I think it's close enough. This is going to be a carryover into June, but House of Root and Ruin. This is book 2 to House of Salt and Sorrows. This is following sisters, lots of sisters. I want to say there are 12 of them, and they seem cursed. And they're able to see a ghost and have visions or really ghastly dreams. And so that is book 1, and they're on an island and in a remote location with like their own superstitious ways. I really did enjoy the book 1, so I put book 2 on my 2026 TBR wheel, and that is what my TBR wheel gave me. I am about halfway through it, so I'll probably be done with it by the time I get this edited. Book 2 has been great. I will talk about it more in my June wrap up, but so far I think book 1 might be a little more appealing to me, as our girl in this one is just so naive and juvenile. It's a little too distracting to read at times for me, but it is considered YA, so I'm trying to keep that in mind. She leaves her little island where her sisters are to go on an adventure, to be at a manor to do a painting, as she is an artist, and the manor that she is in maybe isn't as safe as it seems. I'll update y'all as I finish this with my next wrap up. Another ongoing read for me is book 2 in Dungeon Crawler Carl. My fiance and I are reading this together. I think we only read this one night in May, so we're going pretty slow. We also had the Thunder playoffs, and so that cut into a lot of our reading time watching the games. Now that that is over, sad, we will have more time, even though Love Island is starting, and that is my show and my playoffs. So I will be busy with that. But outside of that, I'm hoping we can still get a little further into book 2. It's so unique and different and hilarious. Nevernight by Kristoff. This is a trilogy. This is book 1, and our main girl Mia goes to a secret school that no one can find. It's really isolated and hard to find, to learn to be an assassin, to unalive people expertly. She is given training and classes that focus on those things, whether it be poison or learning to fight or other curricular activities. She's also trying to be better than her peers, as only so many of them will actually graduate to be able to be considered an assassin. I really enjoyed the world and the setting of the school, or the church is what it's called. I really enjoyed our depiction of where she was, as well as our main character is one of those, and it's one of my favorite tropes as a reader, that a child who is made into a weapon, on top of main characters who they keep getting hit and they keep getting pushed down and they keep getting back up. There is just something about reading that as a reader that I just really, it's so compelling, and I just connect with that so much. And Mia is one of my favorite characters to highlight that in a hot minute. She is also able to do, as you can kind of see on this cover, shadow work and work with shadows and manipulating them and have an ability with that. One thing that I did not enjoy as much is at the bottom of the pages were footnotes. That really took me out of the story. I wish that there were what was in the footnotes was just added organically into the story and the chapters themselves, as opposed to at the bottom, with it taking me out of the story and making me feel like I was back in school. But I got used to it, but it is not my favorite way to read things. I rated this 4 stars, and I am hoping that I enjoy book 2 even more now that we've had the setup of book 1. This is definitely very dark and scrappy and just very gripping. It is grim dark though. I would make sure that you check themes if you don't read a lot of darker fantasy. City of Brass I finished in May. I technically did start it at the end of April. I buddy read this with a friend of mine and a mutual, Sarah, which really enhanced the experience for me. This is just over 500 pages, and the front half of this is heavily loaded with hella info dumping and a lot of history. There is a war that has gone on in this world, and it's gone on for centuries, and I want to say 500, 400, a lot of time. And so our main character is learning about that history, and we are learning it as she learns it. And so learning about all the clans or the tribes and all the different different kinds of gens and the history, and then also the different mutations and like the different political sides that have evolved, made my little noggin hurt. Okay, it was a lot. But as you keep going and you push through, the second half made it worth it, and you get a little more comfortable. I do feel like book one was a lot of setup. We don't get a chance or an opportunity to connect with a lot of the characters. We also don't get too much of moving while we are on a journey. The journey takes a really long time. For the amount of pages that happen, we don't move very far, and it's a lot of a character study and day-to-day passing and learning information. I'm hoping that book two, we actually kind of have some movement in the timeline and we get more in the world now that we've had all this great setup. This is multiple POV, which I also enjoyed. Our main character, who is a warrior, he was very much still a mystery and we don't know a whole lot about him. I'm hoping that maybe we get more about him in book two, as well as we got the other side of the coin and the other side of the war, which is the current reigning kingdom. We got to see the king's son and the prince and his viewpoint on things, which is the opposite of our warrior, and I enjoyed that as well, and getting to see both sides. Our main female character, Nari, because she is learning so much and so much is new, I would like to see her kind of get her footing more as the series progresses. I did rate this a solid 4 stars. I loved the setting and I loved all the different kinds of creatures and the way that the magic has evolved within the history and the timeline. I'm hoping I'll be more comfortable in book 2 and see what I think about the series overall as I keep going. This also had a bit of a historical fiction vibe to it, as it is set in Cairo, Egypt, before we get to the magical kingdom where we end up. And so that was also a little interesting, as I didn't realize that this was set in our world technically at the beginning before we moved to the hidden kingdom. A book that was a bit of a disappointment for me, unfortunately, is going to be An Academy of Liars. This is a standalone. I wanted to read this as I read House of Hunger, also by this author, and I ate this up, pun intended. I loved House of Hunger. I was so bored with this, and the payoff at the ending to me was also a bit of a letdown and didn't really make up for how slow and bored I was with the majority of the book. There were some answers that were not answered for me, and there was some mysteriousness that was unresolved. There were like these side stories that weren't really cleared up. This was multiple timelines. The concept of this was really cool. Our main character goes to a hidden academy to learn the power of persuasion. Studies are all about persuasion and learning how to control or manipulate someone's mind. I love the idea of that and messing with people's minds and having that ability. It was just unfortunate that the book didn't really execute it very well for me. I just was wanting more than it gave me. There were complex themes with grief and self-worth and just complexity of the characters themselves that I did enjoy. I only rated this 2.5 stars or 3 stars at the most, mostly for the quality of the writing, as well as, like I said, the complex themes that were highlighted that I appreciated. I recently went to the bookstore and bought Direbound as well as book 2 Furybound. I purposely waited to read Direbound until book 2 came out, as I saw that there was a crazy cliffhanger and I wanted no part in waiting for that. So I waited for book 2 and then I picked up book 1. I'm actually doing a reading vlog, so if you want to know what I think about book 1 as well as reading book 2, I'm gonna post them together and just do one reading vlog reading both of these, and I'll have that posted here soon. I read Direbound and then I am getting through Furybound. Furybound is what I'm currently reading for June, so let's talk about Direbound briefly. This was so nostalgic of what I initially started out reading when I started reading 5 years ago and getting into reading as an adult with ACOTAR, and then later on Fourth Wing when it came out. So I understand why this is compared to Fourth Wing, except instead of dragons it is wolves or dire wolves. This is trials. This has the sibling dynamic, the bond between the riders and the wolves. This also has a war that has been going on for years and years, and I want to say 400, again, something crazy. And I'm always just like, how do you even have people alive to fight the war if you are constantly fighting for so long? How did you even repopulate your people? But okay, it really was easy to read. While there was a bit of predictability to it, that really just made me more comfortable and settle in, as just because it's predictable to me doesn't mean it's predictable to our main characters. This did have multi-POV. We are with our main girl for the majority of it, but we did get a little bit from one of our main male characters, and I really enjoyed his POV. There is quite a bit of spice for this being book 1. I don't have an issue with spice. I personally prefer spice later in the books. It makes sense for why the spice is there, it does, or why that relationship is unfolding the way it does in book 1. I just personally like my spice later on in the books, but it's fine. There are dire wolves. There are also other creatures that are similar to vampires, but they're not called vampires in this world. Our main character is a human, and she is into the trials of bonding with the dire wolves, even though she wasn't trying to do that or accomplish that, and then is forced to be a part of the actual castle and the trials at the castle. I rated this 4.5 stars. I thought this was a very strong first book. I believe this is going to be a trilogy. I really just had a really good time with it. A 5-star read for me was Dragonfall, and I am genuinely confused with the mixed reviews that this book received. This was dragon shifters and portals to other worlds, not one but two things that I absolutely love and look for in books. That absolutely means that I'm already going to have a good time as long as it meets my expectations as a world itself, and it definitely did. I don't know why this is not getting more hype and why people don't enjoy it. Not every book is for everyone, so I am just saying I am genuinely complex because I truly had the best time. I am hoping to read book 2 in June, as it is a duology. Book 1 follows our main lead, and he is a dragon shifter that goes through a rip in the world to the human world on purpose, and he goes there with his own agenda. He ends up being bonded to a human who is in the human world, who also has her own agenda, and she is a thief, and she has a hidden identity, and she is trying to make her way in this world. It is dual POV, so one chapter is with our dragon and one chapter is with our human, and they are working on betraying each other but also building trust with one another and using each other for their own agendas. The banter, the tension in this was really good. It also had queer representation as well as disability representation that I really appreciate. While I am thinking about it, Direbound also had a disability representation, and I really enjoyed that and didn't know that that was in there, so that was great. But back to Dragonfall, get additional POVs and an even grander look at the world itself. I was just fully invested. The chapters are also short, which helps this go really quick for me and feel like I'm accomplishing quite a bit getting through the chapters. The scheming and the thieving aspect to it, I really just enjoyed the push and pull between our characters. And if you like dragons and you're okay with multiple POV, I would really pick this up, as this world was just so vibrant and fun and different and just really unique for diversity in your reading. And then I ended the month with a Forbidden Alchemy. I did this also as a buddy read with one of my mutuals, Rhonda, and I ended up rating this 4.5 stars. This is also dual POV with our two main characters. First 90 pages moves very quickly, and we get a lot happening all at once. I like my books to move quickly. I think that I've kind of given y'all that expectation that I do like my books to move quickly, so it wasn't a problem for me. I did enjoy how much we got just in such a little bit of time. It was just a little jarring or surprising how quickly our author went. This gives Peaky Blinder energy. Our male main character is so Tommy Shelby coded, and I loved that. Patrick was broody, intelligent, also fiercely loyal. This definitely gives Revolution-esque vibes. And then our main character, Nina, she is so powerful and has a hidden identity and a coming of age of different time jumps, and so we see them at 12 years old all the way to adulthood and being in their 20s, and I just could not get enough of this. I'm really glad we don't have to wait long for book 2. You're seeing conflicting sides between the alchemist and the craftsman. Our male main character, Patrick, is with the craftsman and with the side of the rebellion, and as opposed to Nina is raised with the alchemist and is at school to be an alchemist. And they're 12 years old and they are together. They learn a secret, and so now we see them with their own paths, figuring out what they want to do with that information. This was also a slow burn romance, but when I tell you outside of the slow burn that the banter we get in this was absolutely scrumptious, this was some of the best banter I have had in a hot minute, okay? If you were looking for a book with banter, I personally am a little picky about banter, but this was exceptional and I want more. I liked that we got to see both sides, and I love how Patrick views Nina and how he sees her. That was just truly so beautiful for me. I need more of them. I need the next book to be out. That's what I actively got through in May and what I'm kind of working on here in the first week of June. Let me know in the comments what you read in May or if you've read any of these, and I will see you in the next one.